for Tuesday, September 20th, 7 p.m. Can we have a Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Fire evacuation procedures. In a case of emergency, you could exit through the back of the auditorium or go out this door and down and out and across out the stairs. Roll call.
Donna Corbin-Savinsky.
Here.
Kevin Zorda.
Yeah, here.
Virginia Higley. Here. Philip Kober.
Present.
Robert Hendrickson.
Here.
Annie Collins.
Here.
Nancy Martin.
Here.
Sean Dean.
Absent.
Absent.
Okay, thank you. Public participation. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak regarding items not on the agenda? Again, is there anybody who wants to speak on items not on the agenda? One final call. Anybody want to speak on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Correspondence. And the only thing I did get was something regarding the CCM convention, and they're going to have a debate. I don't know if everybody saw that, but I can pass it to you if you like. Other than that, any other correspondence? Agent comments. To my left?
No.
To my right?
None.
No comments? Okay. I did want to say most of us attended an FOI meeting on September 15th. It was put on by the town attorneys. It was pretty informative, and I got a lot out of it.
That was excellent.
It was excellent, yeah. So we thank them for that. It was nice getting together with the ZBA and PC and Z, all in one room, so that was nice. They did make a comment saying next year the rules are changing where we have to do education and that, and they weren't sure about us. But, so according to the paperwork, that we have to have at least one member must have completed the certifications, but I believe all of us.
Yeah.
We usually,
Yeah.
it's an unwritten, thing we have that we have, everybody go get certified. So, and we keep up with a lot of us keep up with the education, so that's a good thing. Next is approval of minutes from September 6th.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of September 6th.
Second.
I get a motion by Kevin and Ginny. Discussion?
Just, Madam Chair, one amendment for item 17, where it talks about adjournment. The remarks say 6-0 vote, and then the vote's 7-0.
Yep.
And I recall it being 7-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? I did have one on item 5, correspondence. They spelled Kekiwak wrong, which is okay. It's CACIWC. Also on the last page, I think is important that we add. That's a hard one. On the last page, under new applications to be received, we did have 3 others that aren't listed. Actually, they're here today that we're going to be hearing. IW 666. It's 327 Brainerd Road. IW 667. It's the Cranbrook Drive. And then there was XAAA 127. It's the road, Sherrill Drive, Edmund Lane, and those. So if we could add those to the minutes, showing that we received them would be great. I think that was a mistake. We did get another page. It was, looks like it's a ZBA thing that was attached to our minutes. So that's not ours, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we just ignore that page. Okay. Probably when they copied everything, we got added in there. So do I have a motion to amend the,
Yeah, I will amend my motion to approve the minutes with the corrections as stated.
And I'll amend my second.
thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Donna Corbin-Savinsky.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Virginia Higley. Yes. Philip Kober.
Yes.
Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
7 in favor, motion passes. Item 8, town attorney, we don't have any. Continued public hearings is none. New public hearings is none. Old business is none. Now we got new business. Determination of permit need. We have DPN 2022-08-15, 37 Gordon Ave, application for an in-ground pool in the upland review area of the subdivision with surrounding wetlands. Nadia Wright of Juliana Pools, applicant. Patrick W. O'Connor, owner, map 20, lot 14, R33 zone. Are the applicants' representatives here? Hi. Come up and state your name and address for the record.
Address? Is that what you said?
Yes, name and address.
My name is Nadia Wright. Address is 321 Talcottville Road, Vernon, Connecticut, 06066.
Okay. And you representing Juliana?
Correct.
Yeah.
So we are proposing a 12 by 24 in-ground pool within the 100-foot buffer zone.
Just turn your microphone
Done.
on, hit the red button. There you go.
There you go.
Make sure it's on. Is it on?
Does that have a red light?
Is it lit up?
Now it's red.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've never gone
No
to an
worries.
in-person meeting before. So 12 by 24 in-ground pool with 4-foot safety fencing, built within the 100-foot buffer zone. There will be no concrete patio due to the lot coverage amount. Everyone's aware of that. The homeowner was willing to forfeit concrete patio in order to get the pool done. There will be no stockpiling on site. We'll install silt fencing and hay bales for erosion control. Everything's on established lawn, no tree removal, nothing of that sort. It's pretty much the basics of it.
See if I have any notes here. Oh, yeah, this is 37. Yeah, so it appears like looking towards Gordon Ave, the very right of their property is wetland. So it's very
Yes.
minimal wetland.
And it's a previously developed
Property,
property.
yeah, yeah. So are they going to be doing any chemical storage?
If they do, I'm not sure if they're gonna have a shed or anything like that, but as for chemicals, we bring them with us when we clean the pool. We keep everything at our site, at our shop, and, we bring what we need as we go.
Oh, you clean it all the time? That's pretty nice.
Sure we will. And I'm not
That's
sure
nice.
who else they would choose.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did anybody have any questions or comments?
So, no questions, just the only comments, it looks like, so this came to us as a determination of permit need,
Yeah.
and then just looking, so we do have the wetlands maps, and there's nothing to the contrary saying it's not in a wetland. So, based off the location in the review area, we'd see it as needing a wetlands permit, and then being a regulated activity, obstruction removal for a wetland. So, I would be inclined to rule in favor that a permit is needed, and then review this as a application 663.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree that maybe application should be done, but maybe we can make it an agent approval,
Yeah.
just because it's, it's a,
Minor disturbance.
and it's a previously disturbed soils because of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I think that's what we normally
Yeah.
do with these applications.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the silt and the hay bales are fine.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything? Yeah, motion?
Do we, this is always confusing. Do we need to do a motion for this?
Yeah.
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 Because it's not really
So
an
it would be
application.
either a motion to not require a permit or a motion to require a permit.
Okay, so I will make a motion to require a permit for DPN number 2022081537 Gordon Ave, application for an in-ground pool in the upland review area of a subdivision with surrounding wetlands. Nadia Wright of Juliana Pools, applicant Patrick W. O'Connor, owner, map 20, lot 14, R33 zone, and allow for agent approval.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion? Can we have roll call, please?
Donna Corbin Savinsky.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Philip Kober.
Yes.
Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
7 in favor, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. So next on our agenda, give her a minute, is IW 664, 18 Mullen Road, application for the expansion of outdoor storage in the Upland Review Area, CML Realty LLC, owners map 16, lot 51, I-1 zone. Hi. Could you state your name and addresses for the record, please?
Sure. My name is Brennan Shahan. I'm at 70 Mullen Road, Enfield, Connecticut. I represent Connecticut Mulch Distributors.
And my name is Timothy Kuhn. I'm with J.R. Russo and Associates, the project engineer, and we're located in East Windsor.
Thank you.
So the subject property is 18 Mullen Road, which is the current location of a Connecticut Mulch facility, their bagging plant, if you will. It's 14.4 acres approximately, zoned industrial, abutted to the north by Mullen Road, to the east by Connecticut Mulch's forestry operation, and to the south and west by undeveloped industrial land.
One second.
Yes.
Georgia, can they see the map and stuff?
The public.
The public?
Is it on the screen?
No.
I don't think so. Do we have to turn it or something?
We have
It
YouTube.
should be. I'm not really sure, but it's on the website.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if we wanted to. Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. So as I mentioned, the existing building located up on the western side of the site is their bagging plant. There is a paved parking area to the west of the building. Out behind the building, there's paved loading and processing area, and further to the back, there's a 1.7 acre outdoor storage area where they essentially store bagged mulch on pallets. The runoff from this developed area is collected and diverted to a stormwater management basin located at the south end of the property. And then the eastern portion of the site, east of the developed area, is currently maintained as a hayfield. Down at the bottom of the field, because the topography kind of slopes from west to east, down at the bottom of the hill, there is a wetland located along the property line, kind of runs north and south. There's also a man-made swale, which was delineated as a wetland along the edge of Mullen Road. These were delineated by Rick Zulik, a soil scientist. I believe you have a copy of his report. And as he mentions in his report, all of these wetlands have been historically disturbed by agricultural practices out at this site. So Connecticut Mulch has determined that they need more outdoor storage, and they have this large hayfield to the west of their existing building. So they are proposing to add another 3.3 acres in this area for additional storage of their bagged product. They plan to regrade it at a relatively flat slope, about 4%. It'll have a millings as a surface. We will install a swale along the eastern edge of the storage area to collect all the runoff and divert it to a new stormwater management basin, which will be located in the southeast corner of the outdoor storage area. We are showing a silt fence downgrading of all the disturbed areas, and along that wetland that runs north-south, we are maintaining essentially a 50-foot non-disturbed area, or no grading within 50 feet of the wetlands, other than our outlet to our stormwater basin, which gets a little closer. There is a zoning requirement to provide a vegetated buffer both along Mullen Road as well as between the storage area and the abutting property to the east. Now, the area along Mullen Road, as I mentioned earlier, is a wetland. Thus, in that area for our buffer, we are proposing to plant wetland species. And that will provide an enhancement to the wetland. There are already volunteers that are coming up in that area. That particular swale is not currently mowed, so there are some volunteers. We will be supplementing that with additional wetland plants, and that will result in an enhancement of approximately 14,500 square feet of wetlands in that area. Between the two properties on the eastern side, those plantings are actually proposed in the upland, just beyond our limit of disturbance, and those will be spruce trees to provide the required screening along that side of our storage area. There is no direct wetland disturbance associated with this application. There is approximately 61,300 square feet of activity in the upland review area. And as our soil scientist concluded, the wetlands on site are a marginally functioning wetland ecosystem with limited functions and values, and that as long as adequate sediment controls are in place, no substantial adverse wetland impacts will result from this project. So that's it in a nutshell, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
To my left?
What are you going to be storing outside?
Yeah.
The storage is their bagged mulch product.
Oh, so it's in a bag.
That's all,
It's
right?
bagged,
Palletized.
and it's on pallets, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So it's bagged and on pallets.
Yes.
That's good to know. Anybody to my right have questions, comments?
I have.
Not yet. He's looking. Should be the same, right?
Yeah, see that? Okay, that's a newer plan. This is the one that has the access.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
You don't have this one?
Wait, I might have it. Oh, it's right
There
here.
it is, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so you decide not to go with the access road and do all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We removed that from the application, so
Yeah.
to simplify things for now.
Yeah. He was looking at the first plan.
Like, wait a second, didn't I do that?
Right. Yeah. How much storage do you think, like pallets and things, will you be storing?
Excuse me?
How many pallets in that will you be storing?
It's
It's big.
roughly 300,000 bags. I have to do 60 bags per pallet, so we have to do that.
Yeah.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good size. It's additional 3.3 acres. so
Yeah.
It's probably about double what they have now in the back.
So what's the turnaround in terms of the equipment that's going to be used to move these pallets around? Like, how often do you fill it up and then, I know you're constantly doing this. I work in a garden center, so I'm familiar with your product. Do you stockpile it at one time of the season, like in the winter or something, and then is there a lot of activity at one time, or is it kind of a continual process?
Okay, so the process we start bagging mid-September now, and we bag up until the yard is full. Last year, the yard was full because of our storage by the middle of December.
Sure.
We would anticipate the storage area to extend into February. So we would bag from middle of September to the middle of February. The yard is full, and then mulch season springs in March 1st, maybe end of March, depending on the winter. And then everything ships during the months of March, April, May. It really ends at July 4th when, people have had enough of their gardens and the season's over. It gets calm for July, August, and half of September. There's no real activity other than looking back at that season and seeing where you went wrong and what you can do to improve moving forward.
Then you start again.
So the greatest amount of activity is in the winter, the ground's frozen?
Right.
Okay.
That's when all the bagging is taking place, which takes place inside the building, and then it's just transporting those palletized mulch pallets out into the storage yard to be placed, waiting for snow melt, and then shipping.
So are you going to have do the tractor trailers go into this storage area, or do you move the pallets to another area to load them?
For the 2022 season, all the tractor trailers drove in, the yard was full, so they start out by the pad, and we load them there by the pad, which is on the northern side of the property. And then once we gain space, they'll get a little bit further into the storage area, and then are loaded. We haven't had the storage area yet, so,
They don't know?
I mean, I don't think they're gonna go down there. It's a double pick forklift, so it can carry 2 pallets at the same time.
Okay, nice.
So it's very efficient and effective in transporting pallets around the storage yard. The millings really help the mobility of that forklift to maneuver around, rather quickly.
Are we happy with the plantings?
Yeah, they're fine.
So just a clarification, for the new proposed outdoor storage area, it's projected to be gravel, right? There's not going to be any pavement, new pavement that's being put down?
It'll be millings,
Okay.
yeah.
Is the, this 15-foot access drive, kind of down the middle, north to south, is that within the upland review? Do you know, it's not marked on here.
No, it's not. The upland review area, if you look at this map, the upland review area is noted on your plan. But it's outside the northern end, if you will, of the yard does fall in the upland review area to the swale. But otherwise, once you get to that point, it just follows, the upland review area follows along the edge of the storage area.
Chair.
Do you have a question, Georgie? No.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a site specific I wanted to recommend that's not on my staff report. It was to let the applicant apply for agent approval for the future detention basin maintenance if needed. And then to let final plans also include snow stockpiling. And also, there were no online comments from any other department.
Do you have an idea where you would stockpile your snow, or you going to plow the driveway? Or?
We typically, last year, we didn't plow anything.
Yeah.
We just let the forklift drive
Which
over it
thing?
and store in the yard, and then we let winter subside, and it melts off naturally. And
Does it snow?
we weren't, it was a light winter last year.
Yeah.
There was no snow come March 1st. It just all melted, so there was great access. I guess we'll have to have a contingency that we'll have to maintain a lane in case there was a heavy snow
Right, and you had to get back and forth.
to get back and forth.
Yeah, so we'd put it on the site plans as where you would do that.
It would actually, more than likely, depend on where they have stored their product.
Right.
So it'll be determined kind of in the field, but it would be within the storage area at some point. And again, it's not like they'd be clearing snow on the entire 3.3 acres. They're just clearing aisles for, in order to get their forklifts back and forth.
I don't have anything else.
Yeah. All set? Anybody this way? All set?
All right. Georgie, just real quick, so the first one, just to approve agent approval for the swale maintenance, is that what you said?
Applicant can apply for agent approval for the future detention basin maintenance if needed.
The basin. maintenance.
Just in case if they have to come back, then they can just do it in a more simpler process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
All right, I will make a motion to approve IW number 664, 18 Mullen Road, application for the expansion of outdoor storage in the Upland Review area, CML Realty LLC, owners, map 16, lot 51, I-1 zone, with our standard general conditions as well as site-specific conditions. Number one, that the applicant may apply for agent approval for retention basin maintenance if needed. And number two, that the final plans will note snow stockpiling on them.
Second.
Any more discussion? Okay, are you okay with that? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, okay, that's good. Can we have roll call, please?
Donna Corbin Savinsky.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Philip Kober, excuse me.
Yes.
Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
7 in favor, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Give me a minute. Next on our agenda is IW 665, 274, 284, and 242 Brainerd Road. Application for the wetland permit for the development of a 42-unit multifamily housing with single detached homes. Washington Associates of Enfield LLC applicant, Washington Associates of Enfield LLC, and Anthony Triano Jr. and John Petronella. Maps and lots 62-319, 77-67, and 77-68 are 44 zone. Are the applicants here? Could you state your name and address for the records, please? Welcome.
Start off? Okay. Good evening. My name is Dana Steele. I'm a professional engineer with J.R. Russo and Associates in East Windsor. With me this evening is Frank Triano, representing the applicant, owner of the property, and George Logan from REMA Ecological Services, our soil scientist. And I have, I think we can get the plan up on the screen here so you can see it. All right, that's good. So we've got it on the screen. I've got it on the board here, and just want to briefly run through the project and explain what we're doing, and then Frank will have a few things to say, then I'll turn it over to George to talk about the wetland impacts. So this project includes 3 parcels located with frontage on George Washington Road, Brainerd Road. The 3 parcels total a little over 20 acres. There's a parcel in the middle that has a house on it currently, and that's the smallest piece, and then there's 2 larger pieces. The total combined parcels would be combined into a single parcel in excess of 20 acres, which you can see on the plan here. The proposal is for a residential development. This is a condominium-style development, single land ownership, but private ownership of the units. These are single-family homes, detached homes with garages and driveways, and a roadway network. We have about 2,000 feet of roadway within development, with 2 access points on Brainerd Road, and the access points have been coordinated and are appropriate for the traffic and the way that Brainerd Road functions. And the reason that we know this particularly is because we've already been through this process once. This was approved by the Wetlands Commission and by Planning and Zoning back in 2005. But because of economic changes with these types of development, they didn't find a good window or opportunity to start construction, so they waited, and things kind of got worse rather than better, and they waited some more until they requested an extension of the timing for an additional 5 years, and then that expired. So we're now past all extensions, so we're back to a brand new application. So this is a new application, but it's also a familiar application, one that's been vetted through the process before.
Has it changed any since the first one?
It has not changed substantially. I can explain from a wetland standpoint. Really, probably one of the biggest changes is, you can see with my point with my finger. So the property is a former gravel pit. The site used to have a ridge that ran across this southern boundary of the property and cut right through the property, kind of dividing this into two topographic areas. Along Brainerd and George Washington Road, it's all sort of flat and pitches towards the road. And in the back, it pitches towards the back. So there's really two watersheds for this development. Therefore, we have two stormwater systems in order to maintain drainage patterns, not redirect stormwater. So the area in the back is where we have regulated activities. So when we were here in 2005 for an application, we had only one wetland on the property. It's this finger sticking out of the western end of the property that continues on to the abutting property. So there's a larger wetland system on the abutting property, and it extends just slightly into our property. And that's where this area all drains. You can see on the aerial here, there's a road of like a dirt road, access road along the southern property line that sort of is higher and bounds this, and so there's the water is all funneling towards this finger here. When these were previously flagged by a soil scientist named Mike Gragnolati, who passed away a number of years ago, and so when we were looking to come back with a new application, we said, well, we need to have someone else take a look at this now. And one of the things, so we got George Logan involved, and he went out and confirmed that this wetland area was accurate. But we said, take a look, because the town wetland map shows another finger on the eastern side of the property that's up on the side of a hill. Doesn't look like there would be any wetlands on the side of a hill, but check it just to make sure. So George went out there and checked it, and sure enough, he found no wetlands up on the side of the hill, but as he went further to the south here, a little further down, he found a little isolated wetland that the previous soil scientist had missed. So that created a question for us. All right, we have a development that is already designed, and now we have this unit 16 here, which is close to that wetland that's within that buffer area. In fact, the two units on either side are also within the 100-foot regulated area of that wetland. So you have 3 units in this area that are within the regulated area. This wetland, we have no units within the regulated area and no disturbance within 50 feet of the wetland. So you can see the natural green around the wetlands, the natural buffer being maintained, and then we're supplementing where we are disturbing in the second 50 feet. So that's really unchanged from the last application. What's changed is this wetland here. And so as we look at our development and the clearing really needed and to access to provide backyards for these units to have a consistent kind of swath behind here and allow storm drainage to drain to our stormwater system, this wetland is really conflicting with our plan. So you can see the area in red there is what is the impact. So on our last application, we had no wetland impact. Now we have about 2,200 square feet of wetland impact. So our options were to redesign and go around this wetland, or look at, is there a way where we can mitigate it that gives you something even better than just working around it. And that's what George is going to talk to you about and explain his thoughts on how we approach that. But I just wanted to show you that's really, I think, the critical area for this development, these 2 wetlands here. We also, with our last applications, submitted as part of our application an integrated pest management plan, an IPM, and I think the reason for that is, although this type of development is not a high pollutant load development, it's a residential neighborhood. It's It's like any other neighborhood that you live in, that I live in. It's just a residential neighborhood. So it's not a high pollutant load, but there are pollutants that can come from residential developments. They include, for the roadway, you can have vehicles that leak fluids that get onto the pavement, that washes into the stormwater system. So the stormwater system becomes an important part of mitigating and protecting wetlands, because ultimately that water does go into a wetland resource. Then we also have lawns that are maintained with chemicals, pesticides, not everyone uses those products, but many do, and typically in a development like this with an association where there's one landscape company that takes care of all the landscaping, they're doing a nicer job of maintaining it, and that usually includes some types of chemicals, and that can run off and get into the wetlands as well. So recognizing that, last time the commission, having concerns about that, said, what can you do to help mitigate that? We said, we'll come up with an integrated pest management plan. Pest meaning just the herbicides and the pesticides that would prevent the vegetation from staying healthy and green. So we submitted that last time, and we carried that over to this application. So we really haven't changed much, except there is that disturbance there, and in mitigation for that, we've proposed some wetland creation. Not only are we providing a stormwater pond, which has a forebay, that's this blue circle to the right, and a detention area, which is this long oval-shaped area, and a permanent pool, which is this other blue area right near the outlet, which provides some. They end up, as you know, these basins end up sort of functioning as wetlands, even if it's not their primary intention to be a created wetland. They sort of become a wetlands. But in addition to that, outside of that stormwater pond area, we're proposing a mitigation area. That's this darker green triangle here that we're proposing, 4,300 square feet. So we're losing 2,200. And you're gaining 4,300. So it's a pretty good ratio. We think with George on our team that we can make sure this works pretty well, and we're confident that this is going to be an improvement overall for the resources, the wetlands. So we are following DEP best management practices, BMPs for stormwater management, which include this stormwater basin, which is considered an extended detention basin with micropool, and includes a pretreatment feature known as called a forebay. And so with that stormwater system, as well as a maintenance plan for the roadway and for the lawns, we feel that we've done everything we can to provide controls and measures to mitigate impacts of stormwater to the resource, including providing buffers where they're appropriate. Obviously, there's no buffer really here for this wetland, and there's disturbance to it, but the primary wetland, we're providing the same protection and treatment that we had on our previous application. I know that I spoke earlier today, was it? I think it was today, with Jessica DeMar from Connecticut Water, who's the Aquifer Protection Administrator for Connecticut Water. Connecticut Water owns the property to the east. There's a water tower that's further over to the east, but they don't own the house up in the front, but they own this land in the back. So there are a butter, and this whole area, including St. Martha's Pond, including really, it's quite a large aquifer area, which is, talking with Jessica, that's actually a good thing, because it means we're just a small part of the aquifer. We're not like the whole aquifer or a significant part. We're also square in the middle of the aquifer, which is good because we're not we're not in danger of taking water away from the aquifer. We're right in the middle of it. So from that perspective, it's good as well. Now, I don't know what the commission's feeling is about aquifer protection in your jurisdiction. I don't want to tell you what you can do, but I know there is an aquifer protection agency, and and planning and zoning is going to be addressing that. So that's my expectation. That being said, I understand that a lot of the concerns with aquifers end up overlapping with concerns of wetlands, because we're talking, their concerns are really the same as your concerns about pollutants. So, so I just wanted to acknowledge that we have this feedback from the water company, and we're going to be working with them to address their concerns, and working with staff to make sure that staff is satisfied that we've addressed their concerns before we go through the planning and zoning process. As I said, this is not a high pollutant load type of use, therefore it doesn't actually require an aquifer permit. But we did notify the water company, and planning and zoning will have a say on these matters. So,
Yeah, we did get a letter from Connecticut Water like 5 o'clock today. Did you see that?
I did, and I've
They
got it
raised
on my
some
phone here. I didn't have a chance to print it out.
Yeah, they
So-
do raise some concerns.
Yeah.
So,
Would you like me to go through it?
So
And
I would.
You would,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can go through it in just a point of discussion too. I know because we just got this at 5 PM and it hasn't made it to the public posting for the plan. So, I'd be inclined
Yeah, what-
as we go farther on to possibly continue
Yeah.
this to a public hearing. So I just
It's
want
gonna be easier to read
Yeah.
than your phone.
Oh, there we go.
yeah.
Great. Yeah, and I respect that. If you feel you need to continue this, if you want to schedule a public hearing, you can do that as well. Typically, you would schedule a public hearing if there's significant public interest, which I don't know that there is yet, or if there's a significant impact. And after you hear George's report, you can deliberate on that and decide if you want to hold a public hearing. So.
Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot. I think it would be good to continue it.
So you could read
So you
it.
can read it and kind of respond to some of this.
Yeah, this
Definitely
looks
wanna hear
different
from
than
George,
what
but-
Jessica sent
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, it was late today.
Yeah, there was something came in at 5:02, but it was a bulleted thing. This looks a
Oh,
little
this one
different.
came
So-
afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the BP, there was a best practice thing came in
Yeah.
first, and then, it was aqua protection area guidance came first.
Yeah.
Right.
And then this came shortly after. So I think you'd probably want to read it, because it does. Yes, where are you?
That's right, they have the plan up. Go ahead.
I do want to mention that, sorry, I do want to mention that PVC also wears the APA hat. So
Yeah.
they will also be reviewing the comments from Connecticut Water, so don't feel that it's just on you.
Oh, no, I don't. It's just that some of it, I think may impact, their design and their stormwater design and all that. So I would like them to have an opportunity to read it.
Yeah.
And then come back and give us
Yeah.
your
Okay.
updates on it, that's all.
All right. Yeah, and just
I don't want to put you on the spot now, it would be,
and
it
we
wouldn't
don't
be
want to
fair.
rush the process. We want you to be comfortable,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we want to be efficient in how we do this. So if it would be possible to, if after our presentation, you're able to make a decision regarding the public hearing process, that would be helpful. Because otherwise, if you don't, and you wait till the next meeting to decide that, then it's another meeting
Oh,
after
right,
that
right.
before
I don't
we
know
could
if we
act.
need a
So,
public hearing, but,
No.
because we have minimal impact to wetlands.
Yeah.
Yes.
Public hearing may be P and Z, but not
it is definitely a public hearing for
for
planning
P
and
and
zoning.
Z, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we need one
That's
because it's
not
minimal
even a
impact to
question.
the wetlands.
Right.
No.
I think, my take from that letter is essentially she's happy with how you're dealing with the southern part of it. It's the northern side, how the water's being dealt with on that side.
And that was my impression from talking to Jessica on the phone as well. So as it relates to wetlands, just keep in mind,
Right.
you're really, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not telling you what you can and can't do, but the focus of this application, in my opinion, should be on the southern part because that's where the wetlands are.
I didn't know if this was going, the information they're providing here is going to change maybe something what you're going to do.
Right.
So I want to give you the
So-
opportunity to
So there
look
is
it
the
through and-
possibility that
Yeah.
in reviewing this, that we'll want to make
Change
some
something,
changes to
tweak
the
some-
southern
yeah.
portion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think we need a public hearing.
Hearing.
I think we
No,
just
no.
need to continue it.
Just to continue, so you can
Okay.
have the opportunity to read it, look it over,
Address the stormwater.
address, yeah, and, see what they have to say, and,
Can I ask a question?
oh, yes.
So, oh. Yes, Georgie.
Georgie?
I just want to say that there was one building comment that came in through the OpenGov portal online. It's not a concern now, it just talks about fire separation distances, but just wanted to mention that there is a building comment.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. So I have a question about the red spot. So the bullseye. So have you considered not putting units in that location since it's an evident wetlands area? And
Yeah.
turning it into maybe a nice place where people could walk? And I've seen that done before where they've turned it into an area which would be, more recreational for the people that live there
Yeah,
instead of putting a house there or two or three.
May I suggest we let the soil scientists talk
Sure.
about that?
Yeah,
To see
that's
if it's
part of our
functional
thought
at all.
process. But you're absolutely right. It's an important question for the design process, something that we did consider. And I think I'd like to give George an opportunity to
Sure.
explain his thought process on disturbance, protection versus mitigation and enhancement.
Thank you.
So maybe this is a good time to do that. George?
Yep.
You want to switch spots or use this?
It's on, and it has a battery. Good evening, George Logan for the record, Rema Ecological Services. We're out of Manchester, Connecticut. I'm a registered soil scientist, professional wetland scientist, a certified senior ecologist and wildlife biologist. Been, as you probably have heard me say before, been doing this for about 35 years. So what I like to do is just to kind of briefly say a few things and then focus on the red spot, which I think is the question. So I looked at the site in March when I was asked to look and verify the wetland delineation done by Mr. Granulati, which I found to be significantly correct. I was able to, I had a, what do you call it? That aerial photograph with the plan. So I was able to compare the photograph with what that shows. KMZ, yes, a KMZ file. Remember you did that for me?
That's a Google Earth.
So that gives me an
document.
idea of exactly where I am because I can use my GPS on my phone, which is great with the things you do with the phone nowadays. So I got there, actually found one flag, so I was happy to find one flag. So that obviously that wetland was confirmed. It does extend off-site. On the site, we have 0.09 acres thereabouts. Obviously, it's a lot larger as it goes off-site. I verified that it does have some seasonally flooded areas. I wanted to be sure that it didn't qualify as a vernal pool. I did verify that. I think it does seasonally flood, but it's not deep enough and doesn't stay wet enough for a long time to attract obligate species of vernal pools. And then I went and looked at the off-site wetland, or the, let me have your little mouse here. Whoops. Oh my goodness. Where am I? Here I am. So as Dana said, there was an extension of a wetland map unit from the soil survey. And so I didn't find anything here, but I trespassed. And I did find a wetland 150 feet away from the property boundary and actually put a couple of flags there. That's probably in the water company land. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. And then I asked my associate, Sigrun Godwa, you're familiar with her. She's more of a specialized person as far as plants are concerned. So she went out in May, verified the same things that I saw, and then did a little bit of an inventory. Even though there's not much of an inventory to be had with those two wetlands, they're very limited in their vegetative diversity, if you will. This one has red maple and white pine, and this one has eastern hemlock and red maple, and a few other things that we we have in our report, August 19th, that we submitted to the record. I was, shall we say, I mean, this is obviously a wetland. It does qualify by soil type. It's poorly drained, seasonally saturated, doesn't really flood. And it's very transitional to the point where I was kind of scratching my head going, am I flagging two old tree tips? And there's one that's obvious there. But I felt that I want to be conservative enough, so there it is. So it's large enough.
What does that mean, tree tip?
A tree tip, a fall over of a tree, and the root mass goes up and creates a
Creates a depression.
a depression, which then is closer to the groundwater, and therefore it's a wetland. But at the end of the day, I did delineate it. So it's isolated. It doesn't have a lot of diversity. So when you looked at the functional value analysis that I did, I couldn't give it any principal functions. I couldn't really. It's too small to start with. Whereas the other one, what we're calling wetland W, for west, I guess, and then wetland name.
W for wetland.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that comment. But anyhow, I do want to point out that I did a little boo-boo on my report. And when I did my table A, which is the summary of wetland watercourse functions, wetland A is actually W and B is A.
And B is A.
So W has two principal functions, wildlife habitat and visual quality aesthetics. It's a larger one, and it's kind of nicer, and especially if you go off-site. So again, what I'm trying to say here is that it's not a significant wetland for functional value analysis from a diversity. It's transitional, barely a wetland, whereas the one on the other side is more worthy of protection because it has seasonally flooded areas, it's a little diversity, more diversity, and actually extends off-site, so it's larger. So we went back and forth here, and in my view, at the end of the day, I thought that it was the offset of creating a more diverse wetland, which can actually be managed, which is that little green spot, and if you look at when we looked at the grading, and I looked at the groundwater in this area, and so this is going to be fed by groundwater, but it also has some surface water components. It has a little bit of a watershed, so that means it's going to get additional water, and then it's going to overflow into the detention basin, which literally it's going to be a wetland. The detention basin obviously is going to be a wetland. So what I ended up doing is providing a nice list for species to be planted there and prescribe 2 seed mixes. And I actually also said that, hey, if you have these 2 seed mixes, you can also use those for the detention basin because it's going to be a wet one. And those were attached. One thing that I didn't do, and it was in the interest of time, so I better say it on the record so that it's on the record, is usually I have a fairly detailed implementation notes of how one is going to do a wetland mitigation, which I've done, well, dozens of times, I guess, and with more or less good success. There's been a few oopses over the years you learn from. So you see here on table 1 at the back of the report, I have some shrubs. I didn't want to put trees there because I think we've got plenty of trees in the area. And sometimes, as you probably know, the wetlands that are lacking, or the cover types that are lacking in our ecosystem or in our environment, is shrub, and open wet meadows, marshes. Those are the ones. You have a lot of red maple swamps around.
What page are you on, George?
I'm at the attachment, which is the last 4 pages of the report. So I have, if you look there, one thing that I didn't do, usually what I do is I give you the shade tolerance or not, but all these species are not shade tolerant.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. If you put the mic this way?
Yes.
Yes, it's a directional mic, so you have to go face it towards you.
Tip
Thank
it.
you.
Got
Sorry.
it. I do that all the time. Yeah, sometimes I put my hand over the transmitter, and then everyone starts hearing interesting things. So, thanks. it's the last, it's in the attachment. There's no page number. It's attached to the report. So it's, yeah, I guess the
Appendix.
attachment. It's the last 4 pages of probably what you have, hopefully what you have.
It might be mixed together.
It might be mixed together. So it looks like this.
Finding that either.
Oops. Are you looking at my report, which looks like this?
That report is in the binder.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
That's it. Sorry.
I don't have that.
I didn't get that either.
Certainly, I can do that. So there is a table in the attachment, a table 1 and a table 2. Table 1 has a variety of shrubs that are, their habit, if you will, is open.
Yeah.
So they like sunshine. For instance, I have red chokeberry, maleberry, and meadowsweet. Those are plants that like open light. And then I have winterberry. Well, winterberry can do it and can be okay in the woods also. But for the most part, I selected these species. So we have 60 shrubs, more or less anywhere from 6 to 10 to 16 on each. And then I have herbaceous plants. Even though I'm specifying a specialized wet mix, which is, I say this very quietly, quite expensive. But it goes a long way, and it has quite a variety of species. So it's a broad spectrum, so you can, that means a portion of it will do well anywhere, right? So you have facultative species, and then you have obligate species, which are only found in wetlands. And then the herbaceous species, these are plugs. And these are plugs, well, usually what I try to do when I specify these species and we're ready to plant, I wait for the last possible moment they can be planted so I can go to the nursery, and instead of them being this big, they can be that big. So if I have to put them in the water, I have a little bit of green above the water so that the plant can keep growing. But you'll only see maybe 2 species that are obligate there. So there are 250 plugs, and those are usually planted in coast-specific clusters of 3 to 4 to 5. And then, oh yes, oops, I found another boo-boo. Oh my goodness. So the second table 2, which should be table 3, oh boy, that must have been a midnight thing, has the 2 seed mixes. We have the erosion control restoration mix for detention basins. And I specify what elevation that should go in the detention basin. So remember I said I specified something for the detention basin. That's the cheaper mix. But it's also a very good mix. And then the New England wet mix, that's the one that's quite dense. And I have some notes for that, how to put the seed mixes. So anyhow, what I'm saying to that is when and if this is ready to be implemented, which probably should be at the same time that the detention basin is done, because that's where some earthwork has to be done, I will be consulted and I'll be supervising. That doesn't mean I'm there with every single moment that anything's being done in that area, but I'm there in the beginning, a pre-application, if you will, a pre-implementation, and I'm there at critical times, and then I come back at critical times after, and this is to be monitored for 3 years. That's the minimum. 3 years, yeah. So usually what happens, year 1 is the implementation, and there's a couple of extra times that I will come back depending on when the implementation happens. But typically, the implementation is at the end of spring, not in summer, because you don't want to be planting herbaceous species in the summer unless you want to water, and no one's going to do that. And then you watch it, you do an inspection, say about now, and then you put a quick memo report to staff, and then that's year 1, and then you come back year 2 and year 3, and you can typically do the same thing. Do either late spring or early summer is typically the good thing, and the reason for that is not that the species are not going to grow. They usually do unless we have herbivory, meaning deers and bunnies and whatnot. But it gives you, it allows you to make any remedial suggestions for, something happens. We had a drought and we lost some shrubs, or we had a flood and we lost some shrubs, one or the other, and they didn't grow enough, so we can do some replacing. Usually you try to get 80 to 85% survival on what you plant. And also it does another thing, which is very important with any situation like that, is to control of invasive species. So if you see invasive species start to come in, then immediate remedial action as to what happens, which in my book is pulling, mechanical removal. We don't use herbicides. If we had an infestation, that would be a different thing. But here, if anything shows up, it's just a little something, a little there, and it just can be taken out. And as soon as the full vigor of the wetland mitigation takes over, that precludes from invasive species coming in, or at least it really hampers them from coming in, because they like the disturbed stuff. So I guess the take home is, on one side, yes, we have a wetland disturbance, but in my view, because of the nature of the wetland and its low functionality, it's a minimal impact. And on the other hand, we have a mitigation area, not even to include the detention basin, which will be habitat, which will more than offset the functions and values. As a matter of fact, it will have better functions and values, because in an open habitats, usually when you have a little seasonally flooded water, the next thing you know is you have eastern toads, you have green frogs, you have pickerel frogs, you have peepers start coming in, and all of a sudden you have an amphibian magnet, and not even to talk about the invertebrates, such as my favorite dragonflies that are going to be flooding this place. Many species that we typically see, and they like these areas. They like also to land on top of my car because I have a sunroof and they think it's a pond. I'm like, no, that way. So again, that's my opinion. So I think it's a minimal impact, and we have a good plan to offset it. And then what I also do in my report, which gets into looking at indirect impacts. So I look at, for instance, erosion sedimentation control. And so I like the plan that Dana has put together. So we also know that the DEEP is going to be looking at that. So that's an extra level of scrutiny, if you will. So it's going to have to comply absolutely with the guidelines and any amendments. So that's one category. The second category that I look at is water quality. And I'm sure that, so here's one thing that you don't know, and I'm going to speak for this guy. Dana reviews for towns. So I've been the recipient of his reviews, and he's very specific to make sure that he follows the 2004 Stormwater Quality Manual and any amendments to that. So this is by the book, literally, what he's done as far as the water quality volume and all the other design criteria that you need to have a primary treatment system, which this is. So that's good. So I don't think there's going to be an issue with, as far as water quality impacting wetlands that are downgraded, and especially wetland W. And then the other thing that I always look at is another indirect physical impact would be changing the hydrology or dewatering a wetland. But that's not the case here, because not only we're putting water back to W, which is the recipient, as Dana talked about, of the existing drainage pattern, but also these wetlands are tapping into the seasonal groundwater table. So as long as we're not taking a whole bunch of water and putting in another watershed, we're going to be fine. The other thing I might want to say, which is kind of peculiar, so wetland A that we're impacting, the red spot, the non-red spot is actually probably going to increase in size because you're taking out trees next to it. So just by the evapotranspiration quotient, if you will. The groundwater will be higher in that general locale, which means that that wetland will probably scooch and expand a little bit, which is something I've seen before. I guess that's all I'm going to elaborate on at this point, unless you have specific questions.
Yeah, real quick question, I guess it's for both of you. So you talk about the 3-year monitoring of this wetland mitigation creation area.
Yeah.
Is that documented on the plan? It's not, I don't see it in the IPM
It
specifically.
isn't. So because I'm hearing that we will be meeting again next month, I will make sure that
2 weeks, I think.
2 weeks.
yeah.
Oh, good, even better. That I have a full implementation notes that will specify that.
Great, yeah, I'd like to see that in the plan. Just documented, yeah.
You want to see a note on the plan?
Yeah, just that there's going to be a 3-year monitoring plan for that mitigation area that you created.
Could that be a condition of approval, or do you want to see a revised set of plans? Maybe it depends if there's going to be other changes. or
Yeah, no, I would be fine with,
Yeah.
Condition of approval,
Condition.
yeah.
I mean, I'll provide the notes, and they can be referred to. Those notes that
yeah,
Reba
yeah,
provided.
that's fine with
Yeah.
a condition of approval, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's in there. I mean, you have, the IPM is great. I mean, it's pretty detailed. You know, I know it's always tough, you know, especially when you start talking about HOAs and what they're going to do.
Better than than a regular subdivision
Yeah.
where
Anybody
everyone's
can do
independent
anything.
and can do
Yeah.
whatever they want.
Yep.
So it's a little bit controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah, more controlled.
So I'm happy to see that as well. But
And very often what controls an IPM in this situation is money.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I have a quick question. Earlier in your presentation, you mentioned St. Martha's Pond, and can you
think I did.
speak to the impact or how that would, or
So,
wouldn't?
the drainage in George Washington Road goes down towards St. Martha's Pond, and I presume drains into St. Martha's Pond. It's the low spot. It's got to be where it goes. I guess I haven't confirmed that definitively, but
Yes.
So we're not going to be impacting the discharge to St. Martha's. We're not going to be increasing the volume of runoff. We're not going to be increasing peak flows, and we're providing treatment prior to discharge. So we're not going to be impeding the water quality either.
Thank you.
Just another quick question. I know in some of I think it was the photos included, I remember seeing in the master packet online, you had some photos of the site. Are you guys able just to flip through those now? I believe you had pictures of wetland A, was it, the red one?
I do have the. No, I've got the.
There were 2 pictures of.
You want them up on the screen? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, if possible, if you could put them on the screen, because I know you guys, were kind of mentioning that it was kind of smaller, possibly from trees being uprooted. So
So I've got it.
I thought I recall
I've
seeing
got
a
it
photo
here,
of
but they didn't put it on the. So if you want to hold on a minute, I can go do that. Maybe Frank can run it down to the.
Or I can have.
The blue thing.
It's the one that says
should
REMA.
not whisper, just because
yeah.
that's one of the things.
So,
Yeah. just-
So George has printed copies that he can pass around. And think you've got them in your report too. And Frank's going to try to see if he can get that report onto the screen as well. Any other questions for George while we're waiting on that?
I'm not sure who can answer this, but this is an odd question. Is the HOA going to be responsible for doing all the yard work outside?
Yes.
Okay, then I don't have a question.
Okay. Here we go. Yeah, so in the Braden Gardens folder, the top one. Oh, I
This
can
is
do
fine,
this.
yeah.
I'll do it myself here. Okay. So,
We didn't get copies of those.
Yeah, see, most of the.
We didn't get
Get
those
those things.
books.
They didn't get them.
The 3 of us didn't get those books.
She,
I didn't get it.
she just had a question, the blue on there, those are retention ponds, correct? Retention?
I was just asking on the map,
for your report.
the blue. We talked about
need you.
the red, we talked about the green, we didn't talk about the blue. Those were
Okay, so
different ones.
these are the figures of the report. This is an aerial photograph, which is always nice to have. It gives you an idea of the, the southern portion of the property. Here's the wetland that was previously delineated. Here's the one, more or less, of where I found. This is wetland W, the eastern tip with my auger. Here's an example of a seasonally flooded area that I looked for tadpoles in. I looked in March and Sigrun looked in May. And these two pictures that I included are, believe it or not, this is wetland A. There's this one tip that I mentioned.
Doesn't look like a wetland.
I know it doesn't look like a wetland there, but believe me, it is. And this is probably the wetter portion
Yeah, you
of,
can see the wet water there.
of the wetland there.
Was there probably historic logging in this area?
Yes, not within the last 50 years, but prior to that, yes. And I looked at the 1934 aerial photograph, and it's obviously it was a pasture
Yeah.
or a reverting abandoned pasture that was coming back. And this give you an idea of the off-site right-of-way, electrical right-of-way here.
Those are power lines.
Those are the power lines, right? And
Now, with those power lines, do you know, does that drain towards your property, or does that drain away from your property?
Drains away. Yeah, there's a high point between that.
Okay. Because, yeah, and I know from the photos and, general experience with power lines, a lot of times they do get flooded just with the trails there, so.
yeah,
Thinking how that would affect your
and
runoff.
whoever was going through was making a mess, but there was some recent activity there. This is sort of the central forest, if you will, the lower portion, which is mildly well drained, and there's a little hunting hut there. It was kind of interesting. And then I'm giving you a few pictures of the Binks sand dune that is still being used by ATVs. And this is the portion that's the northwestern portion of the site. That was this the one that's the most disturbed. It's flat, they came in, they did what they wanted, and they abandoned it. So that's what we have here. And then this is just the soil survey, which doesn't show any wetlands where we found them, but it showed this spur here from a Walpole wetland, which I found the tip of it, as I said, about 150 feet away from the property boundary. So somewhere, say here, and that's it. Remember, we were talking about the tables. So these are the tables that included table 1 and 2, shrubs and herbaceous species, and then second table 2 with the seed mixes. And I also gave you the actual seed mixes, so you can kind of see the variety. This is the one that's minimum quality. You have to buy 3 pounds. I don't know why they do that. So, but it's 37 versus this one, which is 135. Quite a difference. But this is a superb seed mix that we typically use and have great success with.
All right.
So, yeah, just for discussing too, like I said, I think we agree it's probably not a significant activity. I know we did get some late information from the water company and as staff mentioned. So I'm still inclined to think a public hearing may be beneficial just for other opportunity for inclusion into the record. But that aside, I'm definitely in favor of continuing it at least until the next regular meeting.
Yeah, Georgie, are you there? Not everybody,
Yes.
well, you probably can't see me anyways, but not everybody received the booklet dated August 19th, Town of Enfield.
George's.
George's.
Is that the drainage report?
Yeah, it has George's, no, it's not the drainage, it has George's report on it. His emblem's up in the upper right-hand corner. It's a nice little booklet.
The bound report.
It's bound. I think I have one, and somebody down there has one.
Phil got one.
And Phil got one. It's the only people who got one.
We submitted
I
9
didn't get
copies.
one, Robert didn't get one, and Ian didn't.
Yeah, they didn't get one either.
I didn't
Hang
get it.
hang on. So, if it was part of a report that's more than like 10 pages long, you've only would have gotten the first 4 pages. I'm not sure what they put in the packet, but I'll make sure the next packet has it all.
You said you turned in 9 copies?
Well, we didn't get them.
Did I turn, maybe I didn't turn in, I thought it was 9.
Oh, okay.
But I think your regulations say 4 copies of reports,
Oh,
now that I
okay.
think of it.
Usually we get
9
a
of the plans,
condensed,
4 of the
Yeah,
condensed
reports.
thing. We didn't get anything.
Yeah.
They got the whole thing.
Georgie
Yeah.
said usually you get the first couple of sheets, but not the whole report.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
But if you'd like the whole report, she said she'll make sure you have it for the next meeting.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that'd be good.
Yeah, that's, because
That'd be
Yep.
good. That'd-
Do
that'd-
you want the report for the next one?
Yes, please. It has got a lot of good information for everybody. I mean, I'm lucky I have it.
Okay.
Phil has it, so. So can I have a motion? to
Yeah,
table?
well, I think still maybe just discussion a little bit
Yeah.
about public hearing in terms of that, because that'll impact
Yeah.
what has to go on. My feeling is I don't think we need a public hearing, only because it really doesn't have significant impact of wetlands and where, of significant wetlands that are unquestioned. And it's minimal impact of that, if any, and in fact, you're improving that situation there. I think continue it so that you can address some of the concerns addressed by Connecticut Water and maybe make some changes. I think that certainly is called for, but
I have to agree on
I
that.
don't know what anybody else feels about the public hearing.
Yeah.
I agree with you that I don't think there's a sufficient need for a public hearing, but I think we should continue it
Yeah.
to get the questions answered.
I'm sure there'll be a public hearing for P and Z.
P and Z, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. So if we don't decide on a public hearing tonight, but in 2 weeks, we've all looked at all the information and we think maybe we should go ahead with a public hearing, can we do that still in 2 weeks from now?
We can, yeah, because it's a 65-day window, and we received it 14 days ago.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
We still could.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not significant
No.
Yeah,
impact.
Excuse me?
yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I do just want to remind you, just for the newer commissioners, the criteria for determining a public hearing. There's 3 different things. Dana mentioned it before. One is significant impact to wetlands. Second is significant interest from the public, which I'm not sure if is in the audience right now. And the third is if we receive a petition within that 14-day review period, which we have not.
Right,
Just wanted to reiterate those criteria for determining a public hearing.
correct.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, so I will make a motion to continue IW number 665, 274, 284, and 242 Brainerd Road, so that the applicant can address the late coming information from Connecticut Water.
Second.
Jenny, okay. Discussion? Am I right? Anything? Am I left? Nope.
No.
Roll call?
Donna Corbin Savinsky.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Philip Kober.
Yes.
Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
7 in favor, motion passes. So that'll be continued to October 4th. October 4th.
Okay, we'll see you then.
See you then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Give them a minute to take their items.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then we can see.
away from the restroom.
Okay. We'll pause for a minute here to let them,
It's a long meeting for us.
Oh, yeah.
We're not used to this.
we'll take a couple minute break while they
Just keep going.
clean up.
Do you want to let them come up, next applicant, so
Yeah,
that they can
come up.
prepare?
Oh, they can
Yeah.
definitely come up, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things we talked about at this meeting that we had is to make sure that during the meeting, any conversations we have, it's on.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
so that we don't have to think it's suspicious, so just so you're aware of that. Yeah, after the, yeah.
When Phil comes back, we'll start up again. Sorry for the delay.
Can I have one of the bound reports if anybody's done with it?
Thank you. Here we go. Everybody's back. So next on our agenda is IW 666, 327 Brainerd Road, application for a wetlands permit for the maintenance of the detention pond. Betty Jo O'Brien applicant, Ashmead, Commons Condo Association, owner map 77, lot 58, R33 zone. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Can you state your name and address for the records?
I'm not sure who's they're here. So we're here for 667. And
Okay.
127.
Sorry. So
That's all right.
there's nobody here for this one, so we will can I have a motion to table this one.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table IW number 666, 327 Brainerd Road, application for wetland permit for the maintenance of the detention pond. Betty Jo O'Brien applicant, Ashmead Commons Condo Association owner, map 77, lot 55, R33 zone.
Do I have a
Second.
Second, Ginny. Discussion?
Just the question I would have on this one is, I'd like to know,
This is for Georgie.
Yeah, for Georgie. Just when was the original, have they been following their original plan? So they're asking to maintain this detention pond, but have they been following the original plan that was approved? So if we could just take a look at that original approval.
Yeah, you should have it. We got it today.
Yep.
Okay.
So you should have it on your desk. I wasn't in the office to review the
Okay.
past file. I've heard that they've come in previously for the same thing, but I could not find proof that previous agent approval or anything. The only past file I could find was IW 4774. I don't think they requested agent approval for the main detention pond yet, so this time going forward, they will.
Yep.
And there's
So
also an engineering comment that was given to them on OpenGov that they need to satisfy.
Yeah, and I did look through this wetlands permit,
Right.
but it doesn't say anything about what the actual plan was that was approved. Whether they, was it a 2-year, 3-year, have they been maintaining it as they have supposed to be?
What were they supposed to maintain?
Right, yeah.
There's nothing on it that says.
I don't know that answer. If it's not on the permit, then it probably wasn't mentioned when they came in for approval in the beginning.
Okay.
Would it be
all
on the
right.
site plan? Sometimes they put them on the site plan?
No,
the original
so
site plan?
it was kind of, remember how it was on the agenda before for being incomplete?
Yeah,
Right. Still is.
That was because they gave me a snippet of a site plan, and when I pulled the past file, the permit that you have in front of you, it had the actual plan by Fuss and O'Neill. So I scanned it and sent it to them and to use that to satisfy the site plan requirement. But there's a lot of unanswered questions in this application, and it's a little bit difficult to get in touch with the applicant sometimes. So basically staff is just waiting for more information.
Okay, and so maybe you can just let them know that that's a question we have is, what was the original plan of maintenance?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify for discussing too, it looks like the engineering department was questioning about the dredging,
Yeah.
where the water is being pumped to, and the erosion and sediment control. So I'll be in favor of motioning to continue it.
Yeah, and they're not here,
Yeah, so kind of have to.
so we kind of have to.
All right, so we'll make a motion to continue. I already did.
You already did. The discussion part. Yeah,
Time to vote.
okay. Roll call, please.
Donna Corbin Savinsky.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Philip Kober.
Yes.
Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
7 in favor, motion passes to table this to our October 4th meeting. Hopefully they could come.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, gentlemen, here we go, maybe you know. XIW 667 Cranbrook Boulevard, application for a wetland permit to allow for a road improvement near the wetlands, Town of Enfield, applicant owner.
Good evening, everybody. My name is JP Rodriguez. I'm with the Department of Public Works Engineering Office. With me here tonight, I got Bill Anderson and Eric Nigosanti. They are the consultants that were contracted by the town to do the design work on this project. This is the first project of the RoadSat 2021 referendum. It is a pretty good size project. It's a big project, very interesting project. And basically, we're going to be reconstructing Moody Road from Elm to North Maple. We're going to be reconstructing Cranbrook Boulevard from Freshwater to Palomba. And we're going to be reclaiming 3 roads on the northwest part of town, Edmond, Sherrill, and Stephen. Reclaiming is that we're going to reuse the existing blacktop and the base. We're going to mix it up, and that will be the new base of the road. It's a cost savings to the town, that kind of treatment. We've done work in the past with BHB, good projects with good results, so I'm very excited about continuing doing the work, and I'm pretty sure this project is going to be something that's going to make us all proud. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Bill. He'll go over the plans and show you this project that, hopefully we'll get it started soon.
Yeah. So this one's going to be, there's two applications. This one's going to be just the Cranbrook, the one we're talking about right now?
Yeah.
Or are we going to talk about the other one first?
So what happened is, in the past, we would have done 2 projects.
Right.
But we've decided this is a new approach. We put 2 projects into one. That's why I said it was a bigger project. So we got the streets are far away, and that's why probably we got these 2 applications.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Thanks, JP. Again, Bill Anderson with VHB, professional engineer with VHB. We've had the opportunity over the many years to work with the town of Enfield, JP Rodriguez in the engineering department. So today we are going to give a presentation that will cover all of the roadways that are included in the roads program for this year. So kind of a breakdown is that we're seeking a agent approval for Sherrill Drive, Edmund Lane, Moody Road, and Stephen Drive. And we're seeking the permit for Moody Road, given the impacts to that roadway. Sorry, to Cranbrook, I apologize, given the impacts to that roadway. So the presentation will cover the entire, what the improvements are on all the project roadways. Just want to acknowledge the esteemed staff of the Public Works Department and the Engineering Department, Donald T. Nunes, Public Works Director, John Cobibo, the Assistant Town Engineer, and JP Rodriguez, who we've been working with for many years. Our meeting agenda for tonight will cover the project specifics. We'll discuss project limits, project description, and we'll wrap it up with a project summary, and we look forward to taking your questions and comments at the end of the presentation. So for the project specifics, as JP mentioned, we're looking to reclaim Sherrill Drive, Edmund Lane, and Stephen Drive, and then reconstruct both Moody and Cranbrook Boulevard. One of the things that we'll be looking to do, and where possible in the roadway project, is where we have an opportunity to narrow roadways, we tend to try to do that. So there is an opportunity for this project that we're going to be narrowing Sherrill Drive, Edmund Lane, and Stephen Drive from 28 feet to 26 feet to reduce the impervious area. We will be replacing curbing where existing curbing exists throughout the project. We're also looking to improve the drainage system. So we're looking at adding 3 new catch basins, replacing 14 of the existing catch basins, and also adding 3 dry wells. All catch basins will have a 2-foot sump, except for the ones that's closest to outfall. Those will have a 4-foot sump with a hood trap. We are not anticipating any impacts to wetlands. These are existing roads within disturbed soils, so we're essentially staying within the existing footprint. Any areas that are disturbed will be restored with turf establishment, topsoil and seeding, and which will be established over at least a minimum a year. Water quality will be maintained and protected through the project during construction, and that's usually through installing sill sacks into the catch basins, and on any fill slopes, we usually install sill fans. We'll ensure during construction that the contractor use best management practices during construction. We have a total disturbance of approximately 9 acres, so we'll be required to apply for a general permit for stormwater discharge, and we're working through that process right now with coordination with the DEP. One of the requirements, given that Cranbrook Boulevard, actually the entire section of Cranbrook Boulevard is in the 100-year floodplain, is that we were not allowed to, as we looked at the design, no net fill within that roadway, and we were able to achieve that with our design. There's a small section of Moody Road also at the beginning near Elm Street that's within the 100-year floodplain, and same there, no net fill in that area. As for the project limits, as JP described, we do have 3 roadways, continued roadways that join each other that forms a horseshoe within the Northwest region. That's Sherrill Drive, Edmund Lane, and Stephen Drive. We also have the entire section of Cranbrook Boulevard between Palumba and Freshwater Boulevard. And then we're going to be reconstructing Moody Road from Elm Street to North Maple Street. As for the project description, we're going to start with Sherrill Drive. So I have to give credit to Google Street View here. That's where we got this photo from here. So just take a quick look at Sherrill Drive. As you can see there is no curbing. The existing road is approximately 28 feet, and we will be narrowing that road to 26 feet. In addition to what I just described, so what this typical section actually illustrates is just that we're providing a 26-foot wide roadway that's going to be reclaimed to 14 inches. We will leave 10 inches of processed reclaimed material in place, and then overlay that with 4 inches of new asphalt. So these are the plan sheets that shows the improvements. In addition to what no carbon reclaiming the roadway, we will be adding 2 new catch basins at the low point of the roadway. The erosion sedimentation control measures will include on this roadway adding sill sacks to those catch basins. Just another end of Sherrill Drive there. Jumping over to Cranbrook Boulevard. Here on this roadway, what currently is out there, we have existing curbing. We do have a signal at the intersection with Freshwater Boulevard. That signal will be replacing the load detectors. There's existing sidewalk that's about 4 feet wide. So that sidewalk, we'll be replacing that sidewalk and then extending. In areas that there isn't an existing sidewalk, we'll be installing new sidewalks. The entire section of Cranbrook Boulevard will have new sidewalk that's 5 feet wide.
I was thinking, you're not going to put sidewalks on Sherrill? No?
No.
Didn't look like it?
No.
Yeah. This street floods a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Everybody be able to just fix it?
That's why we cannot change the elevation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So the typical section there, we're not narrowing the road, maintaining the existing roadway width on Cranbrook Boulevard. So what's shown in red there are the silt fence that we'll be installing to help with any runoffs on this roadway when we reconstruct. We'll also be installing silt sacks to the catch basins on this roadway. We'll be replacing curbing, restriping the roadway, and then installing loop detectors at the intersection with Freshwater Boulevard. Just in avoid repeating what I just said, it's kind of continuation of the roadway that goes from Freshwater Boulevard over to Palumbo, an intersection there. So the improvements is the same throughout the entire roadway. Jumping over to Edmond, we have a roadway that's not curbed. We will not be adding new curbing. Existing roadway width is approximately 28 feet, and we'll narrow that down to approximately 26 feet wide. This typical section shows we're going to be reclaiming Edmond as we do with Cheryl and Stephen, 14 inches reclaim, leave 10 inches of reclaim base in place, and then overlay with 4 inches of asphalt.
This is where we're gonna add the dry wells.
Okay.
And this street is very flat right now. They were able to, adjust a little bit the symmetry to make the water flow. And then we're gonna be adding
3 dry wells.
3 dry wells because the water will go.
Right.
Because right now there is no drainage system out there, but the soils will take the water.
soil,
So.
Yeah, we actually did a geotechnical report where we did some borings just to check on the conditions of the soil out there. So should work fairly well.
Yeah.
Jumping over to Moody. So Moody, we're going to be reconstructing this roadway, replacing the curbing. We'll maintain the existing width of the roadway here. Typical section shows we're looking at about a 21-inch depth reconstruction with significant amount of reconstruction that's going to be happening in this road. And we've been in conversation with the police department in terms of how do we maintain traffic throughout construction. So we are mindful of the impact. Of course, the Public Works Department is on this road, and the emergency access needed throughout the winter and so on. So we are keeping that in mind as part of our the design as we go through the design. Again, what's shown in red here is the erosion sedimentation control measures that will be proposed on this road, silt fence, and adding silt sacks to the catch basins. Just want to note here that on just as Cranbrook Boulevard, we're making sure we provide sidewalk for the entire section of Moody Road. So where there isn't a sidewalk, we're proposing new sidewalk. Due to grade constraints, we actually proposed a mid-block crossing where we go from the north side and cross over to the south side with a sidewalk. And so we're going to have what they call a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, one of those signals that flashes a pedestrian button. You push the button and that. So we're proposing that at a mid-block crossing on Moody Road. And this is the location shown here with this crosswalk at this location here. Yeah, just continuing, again, showing the erosion and control measures out there. This is the entrance to the Public Works Department at Lego Way right here. There isn't a development happening out there currently out there. So we have been in coordination. We did receive the plans from the town. So in terms of the timing as to what gets done first, JPA could imagine that development might get completed before our project is complete. But we are factored that in mind in terms of what we're doing. Again, we're staying within the existing footprint of the road, so we're not impacting what they're doing with their work. Jumping over to Stephen, similar to Cheryl and Edmond, same here, 28-foot wide roadway. We'll be narrowing down to 26 feet. Typical section shows what the improvements are. adding 2 catch basins to this roadway. For erosion control measures, we will be installing sill sacks. One of the things you will notice that we are not showing any sill fence on these neighborhoods because all the lots are higher, so there's no anticipation of any runoff, so no sill fence being shown on these roadways. All right, so our plans do include notes, erosion sedimentation control notes, just again encouraging the contractor to establish best practices during construction. These are some details of our the sill fence, the sill sack, and each catch basin top will have a marker that drains to no dumping, that indicates that the system eventually ends up in one of the waterways. So just hopefully people follow that, but that's the best we can do. So. Yes, and then just as you're aware, that Cranbrook Boulevard does flood, and if you can see the FEMA map, the entire section is in the 100-year floodplain. So we have to be mindful of that with our design, not to have any net fill on that roadway. For Moody Road, near the intersection of Elm Street, is a small area that's within the 100-year floodplain, and again, through our design efforts, no net fill in that area. Just showing that. And just to summarize, we are looking to reconstruct Cranbrook Boulevard and Moody Road, reclaim Sherrill Drive, Edmund Lane, and Stephen Drive. We're going to be having storm drainage improvements through an entire project. Significant increase in water quality measures, BMP's best practices throughout the construction activity, and certainly adding catch basins where deemed necessary. And hoods, I guess it should be hoods, I apologize. Those should be hood sumps, and these are at the last catch basin to the outfall, which helps with trapping in the sediments before the water outfalls. And again, finally, no fill within the 100-year floodplain. So that completes our presentation, and we look forward to taking any questions.
Yeah, I always say thank you because Town of Enfield always does just such an awesome job putting your presentations together and you guys with them. It makes our job so much easier. I do have a question on Moody Road. So because of the new distribution facility that they're building there, was that taken into consideration in terms of the increased truck traffic that's going to be happening, I assume, on Moody Road in terms of how the road is going to be constructed?
Yes, yes. I don't know if you want to go back to the typical section. We're doing a significant cut. We're putting a heavy base over there to take into account all the trucks that are going to be going there. Usually we go with could be 14-inch, 16-inch road. In this case, we're going to be fed up to 21 inches.
Excellent. I think that's good for the public to know as well.
So the road will last because there's a lot of traffic. And we're also doing the same with Cranbrook Boulevard because there is a lot of traffic going on there. We're beefing it up to 21 inches. So, yes, I think they'll be, they'll last a long time.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
I was thinking that when they said the 21 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Anybody have any comments or questions to my right?
So just another quick comment. I know at Cranbrook, obviously, like I said, I'm familiar too that it floods a lot. So there's no additional catch basins. You guys are just improving the road with the sidewalk is basically the summary of that project. There's not going to be, you're not going to be able to do any catch basins there?
I think we're replacing some catch basins that are not in good condition, but we're not adding new ones.
Okay, so just replacing, not adding.
Yeah, just to make sure they're as efficient as they can be. That's essentially what the goal is. If they're on the sides, not in good shape, we are providing, installing new catch basins. That's the goal.
Because you're limited in what you can do. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of catch basins on that road, but
if it's all flooding, then
nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, just the nature of the topography in that area.
Yes,
in the brook.
Exactly.
Yeah. It amazes me how much it holds water.
Yeah.
How high it floods. To my left, anybody? Comments, questions, concerns? No. So they talk about both CNF IW 667 Cranbrook, and then XAA 127 is agent
So-
approval. So we'll do 667 first.
Yeah, it looks like we're
Separate, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a permit for 667, and then
Yeah.
the other one will just be agent approval going
Yeah.
forward.
So let's do 667.
All right, I will make a motion to approve XIW 667 Cranbrook Boulevard application for wetland permit to allow for road improvements near the wetlands, Town of Enfield applicant owner.
I will second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
Nope.
Roll call, please.
Donna Corbin Zabinski.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Philip Kober.
Yes.
Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
7 in favor, motion passes. Do I have anything for XAAA 127 Cheryl Drive, Edmund Lane, Moody Road, Stephen Drive?
Sure, I will make a motion that XAAA 127 Cheryl Drive, Edmund Drive, Moody Road, Stephen Drive be approved for agent approval for the authorization to allow for the construction of a road improvement project on those sections within the Upland Review Area, Town of Enfield applicant owner.
Second.
Second. Okay, by Nancy. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Donna Corbin Zabinski.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Philip Kober.
Yes.
Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
7 in favor, motion passes. And thank you very much, gentlemen. It was always great presentations.
Thank
Very
you for a
informative.
great
Very
presentation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you, really appreciate it.
thank you. I always learn a lot when I
Yeah.
come. Yeah. Give them a minute. I know, they had to go through all the other ones. We should have moved them up. Next, our agenda is our review of bylaws. Georgie?
Hi. So you should have gotten the revised copy. Everything I changed is in bold, so you can clearly see it. I hope I didn't miss anything, but feel free to let me know if something else needs to be changed, and I'll change it, and you can approve it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I just had a couple comments looking over it. So Article 4, Section 4, just where it talks about resignations from the agency. I think we should add the phrasing forwarded to the town manager and then town clerk. I'm pretty sure the Connecticut statute requires just a copy goes to the town clerk.
Yep.
Yep, that's correct. So I'll change that from town manager to town clerk.
All right, and then in Article 7, Section 7, where we added that, discussing about, in the bylaws, virtual hybrid meetings. I think we should just incorporate that into Section 1. I think it may just read better, where it talks about where meetings are held, because we have that, and then we talk about several other things before we jump into that, so that might just be a flow, something to discuss. And then the last remark I had is where we talk about the
The
sample.
only reason,
No, go ahead, Georgie.
no, you go ahead.
Okay. And then just the last thing was in Article 9, where we talk about the sample agenda. When we talk about old business, new business, we add other business. I thought we kind of were leaning more towards the phrase miscellaneous for that topic instead of other business.
Yep.
And that's all I had for notes in this draft.
I had Section 2 right below that, of the same section we were just talking about. They have 2/3. I think there should be a space. 2 space third.
Oh, yeah. Second line.
Second
Where's
line.
this at, what article?
Let me see. We were just there with,
Article 9, Section 2.
Second line.
yeah.
Second line.
I'm confused. What article?
Article 9,
Article 9.
which is the order of business.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Right below, right below it in Section 2, talks about 2/3 vote.
Oh, yep, space.
Yep. If you just put a space there.
Yep. So, The only reason I put under section 7, the sentence that Commissioner Colbert was talking about, I put that there just because it follows under Robert's Rules of Order and it falls under the meeting category. But if you'd like, I can move it.
Oh, the section 7.
I'm just not really sure where else it would really meet.
Yeah, the only idea I had just for that is so where we jump into Article 7, Section 1, it says regular meetings shall be held, first and third Tuesday at Town Hall as otherwise noticed. I think the sentence we could just put immediately after that where virtual hybrid options can be requested and allowed and then continue.
Okay.
Just make it part of section 1 instead of its own section.
Exactly,
Okay.
just because, again, we're talking about meetings at Town Hall. And then
Okay.
we're,
Yeah, then later on we
That
should.
makes sense.
Okay, so when we put it after the first sentence?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
All right.
Anything else?
I think that's
I
it.
didn't have anything. So we'll,
All right.
Okay, then
So
again, next
I'll
week.
change the revision date to September 20th and the approved date as October 4th.
sounds good.
Will we get a clear copy?
Yeah, she'll give us
Yeah.
another copy. Yep. In our next packet.
Okay.
Enforcement reports, says no new updates.
No update.
Report of planning staff,
No report.
no report. New applications, I don't see any.
Nope.
None that I know of.
Okay.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned, and it is 8:51.